that I make more money if people pick their cars up. Because the
technician they can sandbag $30K worth of jobs for next week and freaking boom
and crush it. So I don't think I have anyone who thinks that way, but there's 100%.
Do you know?
That's a 100% a way to manipulate that.
Yeah.
The following program features a bunch of doofuses talking about the automotive aftermarket. The stuff we or our guests may say do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of our peers, our sponsors, or any other associations we may have. There may be some spicy language in this show, so if you get your feelings hurt easily, you should probably just move along. So without further ado, it's time for Confessions of a Shop Owner with your host, Mike Allen.
How often do you get new socks?
Whenever Snap-on does the deal where it's buy 5, get a pair free.
Oh, really? So you only wear the Snap-on socks?
I'm sure they're made by another company for Snap-on because they won't make sense. They're very comfortable and they're very durable.
Do they have a lifetime warranty?
No.
Snap-on, though.
The socks don't have apparel. Snap-on apparel and power tools do not have lifetime warranty.
Their power tools don't?
No. Yeah, usually like a power tool is usually 2 years on a tool.
How much? What's the the warranty on power tools from Harbor Freight?
That's
I think it's 90 days or something. It's
yeah,
short.
They don't have a huge warranty on their power tools.
Where do you guys stand on the Icon versus Snap-on hand tools?
So when that was going crazy, I was at a Lockport shop. I had to program something. There's a Harbor Freight down the road. I said, I'm going over to Harbor Freight and I'm buying some, right? And they were on sale. They were stupid cheap. They're like, I think normally they're like $120. They're like $119. They're marked down to $169 if you join the Inside Track Club, blah, blah, blah. So I spent $100. I got the membership and the wrenches, right? I give my tool cart. Those freaking fancy wrenches work just fine. I got a lot of money and a lot of Snap-on tools. Them little Harbor Freight wrenches work fine.
Pro tip. And I shared this with you, and you've utilized it now to success. I was at a recruiting class in Houston. It was Auto Shop Answers recruiting class, and one of their guys was talking about shit that he does to recruit, and they go way outside the box. And he says, I just go hang out in the tool aisle at Harbor Freight at 6 p.m., and all the GS and C-level technicians are there in uniform looking at tools. And I just strike up a conversation and hand out business cards.
Mike told me that within the week I was texting him while I was wandering around Harbor Freight, and I handed out like 3 business cards that night.
He was like, I spotted one. I got one on the hook.
I got one.
It's like
how long you been doing? Oh, where do you work? How long you been doing this? What do they pay you over there? Not that great, huh? Here's my card. Here you go. Come see me when you want to make.
You got an interview doing that, right?
Yeah.
So was he a hireable guy or no?
I think he works at our Lockport shop.
Oh, well, there you go. When you have so many employees, you can't keep track of them anymore. That's ESO problems.
Well, sometimes I'm not always that informed of what's going on over there, and we've gotten a little bit. In the past, we'd keep people for way too long when the performance was not there.
Yeah.
Look, here's the deal. I like to think that I'm pretty good at running an auto repair shop. It's what I've done for 20 plus years, but I'm not good at managing a marketing budget and all the different facets of a truly well-rounded marketing plan. There's mail, there's local advertising, there's website, there's Google AdWords, there's all the different things that go into that, and it's just not what I'm good at. So what I've chosen to do is to buy myself the time to focus on what I am good at while having someone else execute on all of those things at a way higher level than anything I could ever do. That's what turnkey auto marketing does for me. So if you feel like you could use some of that same magic, I'm going to recommend that you go to turnkeyautomarketing.com, get a free consultation, tell them that I sent you, tell them that Confessions of a Shop Owner sent you. You won't be disappointed. Hey there. I'm going to tell you about something that has completely transformed how I run my shop, TechMetric. As a 20-year shop owner, outdated systems used to slow us down. Everything was clunky, from check-in to estimate building to customer updates. It all felt just super inefficient. Switching to TechMetric has changed everything. With TechMetric, you get a powerful shop management system that includes DVI, quick and easy estimate building, inventory management, real-time reporting, amazing customer communication, and it's really easy for your employees to learn how to use the software. I'm talking like a one-day learning curve. On top of that, TechMetric has tons of other tools to make you an even better operator. Stuff like integrated payments with buy now, pay later options is a huge asset. Ask me how I know. And recently, they've added a CRM component with their partnership with Shop Genie, which I'm a happy Shop Genie customer already, so I'm super excited about that. Now, obviously, there are a lot of factors at play here, but I want to give you some facts about my business since I made the change to TechMetric. In September of 2020, when I switched to TechMetric, my ARO was $293. In September of 2024, we were $916. That's over 300% growth. Now, I'm not saying that TechMetric created all of that change, but I'm 100% saying that I couldn't have come this far without TechMetric. It's a key factor in our growth and success. If you're ready to level up your shop, TechMetric has everything you need: productivity, revenue, customer experience. Measure up by every measure with TechMetric. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more.
We've gotten a lot better, so I always have to say I think, because I wasn't there Thursday and Friday and Jim was.
So he might not be there now.
And Jim, it's not me. I have no problem with somebody going who can't do the job. Jim tended to be very lenient. I mean, it was excessive. It was beyond just being a nice guy. And now
the pendulum has swung in the other direction.
Now he's like we were always very informal. Now there's job descriptions, and I'm like, what about this? He goes, yeah. He goes, I'll throw that in there. He goes, and oh my gosh, the funniest text message I got from him in a while. He goes, I'll throw that in there. And in my notes, I'm sure there's something this asshole will teach me for the next asshole, he says. And that has totally not been his view or how he does things throughout his career. But I think we're to the point we've been burned enough where it's like, okay. You know, and the last guy we had at our Sanborn shop just got let go Monday.
How long was he there?
2 weeks.
Well, I mean, in 2 weeks if somebody's... You don't always know if they're a long-term, but you can tell if they're not a fit. And, yeah. Brian, I think you're edging up on the point where it's time to start thinking about adding employees for the first time, right? We were talking about that the other night. And you have some reasons why you're not comfortable doing that yet, and I get it. But one of the things that will kill your business faster than anything else is just barely good enough employees. Because they're just barely good enough that you keep them around. Like, if the guy's a total moron, it's easy to fire him, right? And if they're a total rock star, obviously you keep them. But if they're just average enough that you don't want to go through the ass pain of finding someone else, then they just drag your whole organization down.
Been there.
Yeah. And also the rock stars see what's accepted, and then it drags them down too.
Been there.
Yeah. So.
Well, I feel like where I'm at in my progress of growing my business is also that I don't know that I want to like, I'm not at a point where I could hire somebody at a high dollar amount.
Pay no attention to the flashing lights.
And, it's kind of like I'm at the point where I'm thinking I'd be better off to hire somebody young that it hasn't been in the profession that I can grow the way I want them to grow.
Now, are you afraid being by yourself that there's going to be challenges as far as the amount of time you're going to have to put into that person?
Yes.
Because that's where I see, and I love the enthusiasm of smaller shops with a smaller employee count wanting, you know what, I'm going to freaking change this deal. I'm going to grab me a young guy that doesn't know nothing. I'm going to get him a cart full of tools, and we're going to freaking go to work. Is that what's best for your business at this point? Or are you better off, hiring an established B or C plus technician that can knock out the gravy while you're
right?
And I get it. Like, you look at what's out, and it's easy to say that's assuming that there's a ton of qualified people that can do what I just talked about that you can go hire,
right?
And there's not, which drives you to do something that's not necessarily the best business decision, but is at this point better than the alternative, right?
Well, I've had. I mean, like Benji and his team over at Frog Pond, and they've had multiple success stories with apprentices.
Sure. Yeah.
And you've had a ton of success stories
Yes.
with apprentices. I've had a ton of disasters
yeah.
with apprentices, but I think that's more of a reflection upon I set them up for
We have
failure.
a shop full of people that came on in their teens working for us.
Yeah. I don't know.
Shop full of guys that started in their teens that are in their mid-20s now still working for us.
So what do you think? Would you think you would rather get an 18-year-old kid out of high school and teach him with no bad habits, or?
I mean, that's where I kind of feel like I'm at, because I've trained some people before and thought they were good, and then get vehicles in my shop that they've worked on. And it's like, I don't want this coming out of my shop. So I'm kind of at a crossroads. And the thing is, we've talked before, I've talked with Benji and some others about the potential of a service writer coming in that's well known.
If you're like me, you know there's always hidden revenue in missed maintenance sales or overlooked customer concerns. Detect Auto helps auto shops unlock that revenue by analyzing vehicle service histories, pinpointing maintenance recommendations, and equipping advisors to confidently address customer questions. It's easy. It integrates with your existing software, and your team will love it. Check out detectauto.com and see how your shop can stop guessing and start selling better service recommendations today.
And, I like the front office part, me talking to the customers. I'm good at it. I enjoy building relationships with people. So it's hard for me to step away from there because I'm doing pretty good at that. But yet, then you're going to have to hire somebody like an A-Tech to be in the shop because, like you said, I mean, I can't do everything. But, and I sit there and think, well, could I bring in the writer? And then I could be in the shop and also helping teach.
Sure.
So, but then that's an even bigger leap for me than just hiring one person. So, it's kind of a struggle and don't know which way I should really go.
I feel like there's got to be like a point in the growth and maturity of a startup when you're ready to add an employee. And there's probably a point when you're ready to add a production employee and a point where you're ready to add a support employee. So I think the formula that I've seen successful is a technician turned startup shop owner, a single person shop. First, they add a second technician so that they have more time for the administrative stuff. Mm-hmm. Then they add a service advisor. And then kind of it goes from there. And then they can afford coaching or technology upgrades or whatever else it might be.
Sure.
But I feel like the numbers are probably different for a Euro specialty shop like yourself. I feel like if you can get to a regular, consistent 40, 50 grand a month, it's time to add a tech. And then when you're getting to a regular 70, 80 grand a month, it's time to add an advisor. Because if you're half of the technical staff and you're writing $80,000 a month in estimates, that's a lot of work at that point. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking on my ass, but
I don't have a lot of experience in it because Jim and I started together. We both left our former employer. We both went into a shop that was operating at a very low level, doing when the previous owner was probably doing 200 grand a year out of it. And we both went in there together, not just one person, together. And our first, our first 12 months, we turned $780,000.
wow. That's rock and roll, man.
We were kicking ass. I mean, and he's got enough technical ability where it's not like you have a writer personnel. I mean, the guy can put brakes on a car like rather efficiently. You know what I mean? Is he the guy that you're going to send in to do a heavy line repair? No, it's not going to happen. When a bolt gets stuck or something, he's probably not that guy as much as I am. But he was capable of doing that stuff. So we came out of the gate, both of us with a following. So like these things that people talk about with adding people, we already had one guy working in the bays 30 hours a week and another guy working in the bays 50 hours a week, day one.
Yeah.
And we had miraculously, through the grace of God or whatever, we had the support, the car count to make that work, right? And, some people aren't that fortunate. I've started to realize when I talk to people, we didn't start out as a single. We went into it with two people.
Not a typical
with
startup.
split responsibilities. And both having a ton of motivation to work the 60, the 70, the however many hours a week it needed to be. Both when
So
you
that
have
you could
something
afford
that's
to
not
build the
working.
race car and everything else, right?
When something's not working out, we both had the drive to, after the normal daily business, that car that doesn't run gets pushed back in. You work on it from 8 to midnight. So I get it. There was 2 people and not one. And then some things, I'm starting to realize some things were a lot easier for us because there were 2 people pushing the same direction.
So I think this is an appropriate point in the conversation where maybe we should introduce our guest. Or
Probably.
Brian, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Name, business, where you're located, and then I'd love to hear a little bit about your history and how you got into it.
All right. So Brian Stolpa, Brian's Motorworks, Euro shop I'm out of Parkton, North Carolina. Nobody's going to know where that is. It's right outside of Fayetteville. So always been into, my mom takes it back to when I was a little kid, disassembling toys. And she'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to throw this thing out. And next thing she'd come in and it's all put back together working. I've always been that way. My dad had a tool and die shop. So, he's always making stuff, and that's what I grew up around. So I've always had a mechanical background, and I went to UTI in Chicago, and I was trying to go to the NASCAR Technical Institute, which I did before it was built here in Charlotte, because I wanted to kind of tie machining along with cars and be an engine machinist. So I was kind of getting the automotive program through them, and but I wanted to get on the NASCAR team. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to build engines. But my heart kind of fell out of NASCAR in that whole process. I was working for a big name drag racer, and just NASCAR kind of fell away. But when I was in Houston, there was a Leith recruiter, and I used that as an opportunity to move out to North Carolina because they moved me out from Wisconsin and got close. And I just kind of started working at Land Rover dealership, and I was just kind of naturally good. As my first job out of school, I was progressing, and
Land Rover prepares you for anything.
well,
If you can keep a Land Rover running for 250,000
You
miles,
can work on a space shuttle.
well, and that's the thing. That like coming to work for Land Rover, and that's what we'd say. If we could work on that, hey, we can work on anything now.
You got this.
what do they have more failure points? Oil leaks or electrical problems?
Yes.
I'll tell you what. I was in there. That was 2001, and we were doing. They had a big issue with the valves, getting carbon on the valves, and we'd have to remount, take off cylinder heads, remount the guides, and we were doing that left and right. I mean, it'd get to the point where one of the techs there, he has a shop now. We started a shop together kind of back in 2005 or so, but we'd have races with who could pull the car in, get the heads off, ream them out, get them
You
back
guys
together.
doing 2-a-days?
We didn't do 2 a days,
Couldn't
but
get 2-a-days?
it was good.
You're trying to.
We tried.
Yeah.
And then there was time we'd go in the weekend and we'd work together, and it's like, okay, we're both going to go on this car together. Let's knock it out.
2 guys on it and leave
Yeah.
by noon. Everybody's all hunky-dory. Yeah.
He's doing the left side head. I'm doing the right side head, and just knock it out. And, you're driving it back out. The heads are still warm, when you're putting them
when you
back
started.
on. So it's like, but that's kind of where I came from. And it's crazy because when Leith recruited me down in Houston, I wanted to go to BMW, but they have their step program. So they're like, well, we only hire from the step program. I didn't want to go to Ford. I've always kind of like wanted to be more of the higher end cars. And he's like, well, we got Land Rover available. So that's why I went, because I was like, all right, well, that's a high end car. Everything else they have special training for that they recruit out of. But when I met my wife and moved to Fayetteville from the Cary area, her aunt worked for a dealership down there for 30 some years, and it happened to be a BMW dealership. So kind of full circle around, now I'm at the BMW dealership that I kind of tried to move out here for. So
How long were you there?
15 years, and I was the shop foreman when I left.
What made you decide to leave and go out on your own?
Management.
That's a common story. We've heard that story before, right?
Well, and the worst part is, I think these events that we're at right now is kind of one of the reasons I left there is because, as a shop foreman, I was trying to build up a better shop. We have a whole lot of people coming in, and it's not necessarily that they're not good, but they're not getting the proper training. They just dispatch keeps giving them the easy stuff because they can't do the hard stuff. Well, they need to get the hard stuff and learn on it so that they can learn. And I was trying to build good techs, and there just happened to be they were hiring somebody. Today's the age of Facebook. I looked on Facebook. He left off 3 BMW dealerships off his resume. Why are you going to leave off 3 BMW dealerships off of your resume? It's obvious, and full circle. We kind of, I talked to him. We went out to, there's a training facility out by, is that Monroe? Hendrick, big time in there. And they had some BMW reps out there and all the shop foremen, and kind of trying to tell us, hey, why don't you build your own techs? Send them to the technical community colleges, and BMW had a program that you can hire, you can send college kid, or right out of school, go to a BMW program 2 weeks. You come back to the dealership for 2 weeks, then you go back to their program for 2 weeks.
Yeah, what's that? Associates in Applied Science or something like that.
I don't know what BMW. It was actually through BMW.
Oh, it was through BMW. Okay,
Yeah.
It wasn't independently.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and but so we did that, and we hired a couple of guys. But when I went to their onboarding, right, we went on to their onboarding. I was getting my check to go to Atlanta, and the manager sits there and he hands me the check and says, "Oh, and by the way, that guy you didn't want us to hire, he starts Monday. Me and the other service director, we run the show here, not you."
Just make sure you know where you stand in the pecking order,
Right. Well, and the thing is, everything happens for a reason, right? So that was Friday night.
Yeah.
I go
fix
home.
the cars, not you. Bye.
Right. And I'm trying to make the shop a better place.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm trying to make this a good place to work. People that know what they're doing. But I go home, and all I'm doing is stewing about it with my wife, and I'm just upset. And one of the guys that used to work there texts me. He just starts texting me out of the blue. How's everything going? Whatnot? You happy at your job? Right? Yeah. And so, I started telling him, and he's like, well, you want to come over where his new job? And fast forward, I left because all that happened. So, but it's just kind of like some of the management, they just don't think about.
So you're in the shop foreman position. You're assisting people in repairs, obviously, when the going gets tough. Roughly how many hours a week you turning? Just roughly. It doesn't really matter. Just
You mean before I was the shop foreman?
when you were the shop foreman.
So I really wasn't turning it that many hours.
Gotcha. You turn 20-ish.
Right.
20-ish hours a week.
Yeah.
So you're producing 20 hours a week worth of labor. You're expediting things. You're turning the hours. They're not showing up billable on you because you're assisting, but you're turning the hours that the others can't. And they don't want to see the sign on a bad hire and want to tell you to get effed.
Right.
Hey, just shut up and do what we tell you.
That is how I know that you can suffer head trauma and run a service department. Because that is not intelligent.
The worst part about that, though, is that we had a really good shop at one time.
Yeah.
Like almost everybody in the shop was good.
Yeah.
And everybody worked together. A lot of shop culture. You have little cliques and nobody gets along. One time we had a shop that was just amazing.
That's bad decision making.
Right. And they brought in different management and everybody one by one.
And I understand I understand the other side. I understand the I'm in charge side. But you were in charge of the hammer and you decided to smash your hand with it.
Right.
Moron. Yeah. That's not a good idea. Just because you're in charge doesn't mean all your ideas are great.
Well, that means, are you a boss or a leader, right? That's what we were learning about yesterday.
Right.
So.
Well, and I was over talking to one of the guys the other day, and at one time we had 8 or 9 master techs in that shop out of 11 people.
Which is a great number in a modern dealership.
Now they probably have 12, 13 people in that shop. I think they have 1 master.
I would tell you that I have definitely been a boss rather than a leader many times in my career. There was a time when every technician in my building was master certified, and that is not the case anymore. And a lot of the changes that I've made in the last year ran some of them off. They didn't want to work on Saturdays. They didn't want to give up DVIs. They didn't like dispatch being managed by someone other than a tech, right? And these are really high competency technicians who are good human beings. They just didn't want to work in the system that I'm putting in place. Doesn't mean that I think it's not the right system. It's just I have to find different people that do want to work within that system. So I hear what you're saying. Like I can envision like a couple of the people that have left my business in the last year. I'm surprised they haven't already opened their own shop. And one day, if they're sitting down on a couch for a podcast and they say, "What made you leave that place and go open your own shop?" I said, "Management. Boss wanted to fucking give Diag away, or whatever it might be, right?" So,
well, you pay them, so that's a bullshit excuse.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that the other side of the coin for a lot of things that I've done doesn't come off quite as rosy as I portray it, right? Because
there's three sides to every story.
Right. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so. Sure.
Well, and I'll also say, though, I should circle us back to saying that it all happened for a reason. I was there 15 years. I would have never left. I've always kind of had in my head that I wanted to...
comfortable.
Right.
You were getting paid.
Right.
You had, until management stuck their nose in it, you had the team around you that you were very comfortable with working with. The shop culture was like, let's all get along and help each other. Yeah.
Yep.
You weren't going anywhere.
Right.
You were going to die.
Right.
In Bay 3 of the BMW deal.
And in fact, one of the meetings that I had prior to with the service director there, one of the things he told me, "You're always going to be here with me." So, and that's kind of why I feel like I kind of look at it as all a blessing.
He said that like, "Where are you going to go?" Or he said that like, "We're a team together forever."
Not as where are you going to go, but basically he thought that he was taking care of me well enough.
Gotcha.
That, hey, you're going to be here as long as I'm here.
Well, I mean,
most management doesn't know the opportunity that's out there for certain people. So you hear that all the time. I don't understand why he left. I was paying him.
I've totally fallen victim to that. Because I'm a money motivated guy in a big way, and so it's like he's not going to go anywhere. He's got a salary of $120,000 a year plus bonus or whatever it might be, right? And it's like, well, he can go make almost that much or maybe more than that and works somewhere that agrees with his methodology.
I've seen some W-2s that blew my mind, and I'm like, most of these shop owners don't know what some of these guys are making. Because I'm talking to a lot of technical guys that are not these people you see on the Facebook forums, people that are too busy improving their skill sets and keeping up to waste their time doing this.
What's your excuse? Because you're actually pretty good at what you do, and you also waste an enormous amount of time on Facebook. I just know a lot of smart
people, actually.
Okay, copy. Networking.
So anyways, like, you start seeing some people's W-2 income, and people are like, "Oh, man, $48 an hour is top pay." I'm like, yeah, I freaking thought 48 was probably pretty good, too. A guy making $237,000 for doing tech support.
But, I mean... There's also YouTubers making millions of dollars a year, but there are millions of YouTubers, and there are a handful of ones doing that, right?
Yes, yes. Every time my kids want to be a YouTuber, oh my gosh, the other day the boys finally said, "Yeah, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up." Ron says, "I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up, but I think I need to be a mechanic so I can make money until I get famous." And Sam goes, "Yeah, that's a good idea." I'm like, yes. Child labor free, yes.
All right, so you left the dealership because tone deaf management, and the dude was texting you. You went there. How long were you there before you opened your shop?
So I left the dealership. It was the Friday was before Valentine's Day 2020.
Okay.
Was my last day.
Oh man, another COVID starter, huh?
Right. So, and I went to work for this company's name was Aztec, doing mobile ADAS calibrations for the body shops.
Yeah.
I was in Texas for 2 weeks for training. Come back, it's March 1st, somewhere in there.
Like
during
peak
the
of COVID.
Right.
During the honeymoon phase, it was great because you weren't touching wrenches. You're like, oh, this is great. I'm getting paid to push buttons.
Right. Well, and
This is amazing.
I'm driving around with my friend, kind of the onboarding process, ride with him for a couple weeks before I started my own van. And yeah, I still remember it was like April 7th. All the body shops were drying up because Nobody's driving.
So nobody's hitting nothing.
So they laid all of us off, except for maybe one in each market.
Sure.
And so that's why I kind of say it was kind of a blessing, because that's the only reason I got out from the dealership. I'd still be there today probably if that didn't happen.
And what made the transition from that to, and by the way, I love the name Brian's Motorworks, because you're a BMW specialty shop and you can have BMW on your, I love it.
That's
I
right.
didn't think about that.
And they can't come trademarking you because it's just my fucking name, man.
Right. Right.
You ever think about putting ATM on there because they dispense cash?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's and I apologize. I already thrown off. I forgot what your question was there.
We're
It's
just
my fault.
talking about transition from calibration work, mobile work.
Oh yeah. So I've always, my family owned a business. Always, so it's always been a goal of mine to own my own business, but I was just never in the position to be able to. And money wise, it takes money.
Takes
and
working capital for sure.
because of, this might be a bad thing I did. I don't know. Because I lost my job because of COVID, I could dip into my 401k penalty free.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, you know what? Now's maybe the time. And that's kind of why I say everything was kind of meant to be.
And so now you've been in business for 3 or 4 years?
Yeah. So I had to build the shop during COVID, which was another ordeal because all the prices, they were low when I started.
$90 sheets of plywood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or like $200
Yes.
oil changes.
So, and it was bad because when I started, when I got the architect to draw up the design and everything, prices were low. And I had a neighbor who was a builder that was going to help out, and he guaranteed me, oh yeah, we can do this at this price, no problem. Well, prices started going up.
It was 50% more by the time it was,
Yeah.
or more.
And
right?
and he kept telling me, oh yeah, the trusses are ordered. And I'm just like, for me, it's like, I got to get this built because I got to get making money. So finally it was like October of, late October of 2020 that I just said, forget it. And I started ordering the materials, and then me and my dad built the shop.
You went full Amish. We're going to build our own barn.
Only thing I didn't do was put the trusses on. I hired that out. But yeah, it's like, we just got to get this done.
I've been following along for the last couple of years on Facebook as you, between cars, when you have a few minutes, you're working on continuing to develop the building and everything else.
And it's a slow process, and that's a problem. A lot of it would have been finished, but because of the COVID prices, I ran out of money. And it was just kind of like, I got to get working. So
right. You got to
when
recover some of that spend. Like, you don't have a choice.
Right.
Okay, the drywall's not on, doesn't matter.
Right. I can work.
We got to start spinning wrenches because that's the only way we're going to get paid.
And that's why I say I don't have heat or AC in the shop, and I'm okay with that because I see my end goal. I know where I want to be. But when we talk about hiring techs, it's kind of like, I can work in there because I see the end goal, but I can't for somebody else, or it's going to be hard to get somebody else that'll see that goal as well.
Probably be easier to get an 18-year-old kid to work in that than it would be a 40-year-old master tech.
Right.
So,
Right.
Be a very cantankerous master tech.
Yeah.
Complaining about the temperature.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You just get an oil-fired AC unit.
Oh man, I couldn't believe when you sent me that.
Waste oil air conditioners.
Waste
I
oil
know
air
thing.
chiller they have.
It's basically a dehumidifier, kind of.
Sure. You know what, man? That's all we need. We don't need it cold. It don't get that hot.
When it's 100 degrees outside, if it's 80 in the shop, it feels amazing.
True story.
So,
Like I said, I don't have anything, so I'll take something.
yeah. Do a swamp cooler in the interim.
They just make everything clammy.
Yeah.
They ain't that great.
I hear them. I was looking at that, but then I hear too about all the tools rusting up.
It's better in a very dry environment, right? You see them in Phoenix and Texas; they're great. But when it's a very humid environment, it's just kind of like a wet hair dryer.
I've only ever been in one shop in Texas. I assumed they all had air conditioning.
No,
And
I would tell you in Florida and Texas, there are fewer shops as a percentage that have air conditioning than there are in New York and
Yes.
in Pennsylvania.
Yes,
Because you guys are pussies when it gets hot, and they're used to it down there.
Pussies when it gets hot.
Oh, it's 88 degrees. I'm gonna
Oh,
die.
it was hot. I got off the airplane here. It was 68 degrees. It was hot as hell outside. I almost stripped down. I almost stripped out on the little freaking porter gate on the freaking near the airplane, getting off that thing. I was like, "Holy hell, it's hot!" What was I thinking?
No, so my buddy Harrison has got 4 shops and a body shop in Houston. And I don't think any of them have central air in the shop, right? And they rock and roll, man. And Adams Automotive, the big shop that they always brag about, it's like 40 some lifts. Over half of them are outside under shade. They're to grind, man. They're just built different.
Can I tell you? I have talked to somebody who used to work in Pennsylvania, and now he's a shop foreman. Actually, he's just been promoted to owner at a shop in Texas, and he told me that it took him a year. But after the first summer, the second summer came, and he's like, "Oh, here we go again. I'm gonna freaking die all summer." He was like, "This ain't that bad if it's."
It's just like how it was 19 degrees in Buffalo when you left, and you're like, meh.
Yeah, I literally wore a long sleeve shirt.
Like if I went up to Buffalo and it was 19 degrees in April, I would be like, "Fuck this town! I'm never coming back."
It was actually a pretty nice day. There was no wind. The sun was out. It was pretty nice.
Yeah, so it's all what you're used to.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I will say that you guys do have heat though for the cold, and they don't have AC for the hot. So
well, I mean, it gets like 98 degrees in the summer too. Not
how
for
many
long.
days does it get 98 degrees?
Freaking one day is too many.
Handful. Yeah, yeah. Well, cool, man. So primarily BMW. Do you do anything else?
So BMW, Mercedes, Audi, Land Rover, Jaguar. Try to stay
Anything
with
expensive?
those. Yeah.
Do you specialize in third owner BMW 5 Series?
We already had that conversation. Specializes in telling them to get lost.
Have you ever heard Dutch tell the story about how he would intake third owner BMW customers?
I think you just mentioned it yesterday too.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh, he's so
amazing.
funny.
I, obviously with a little bit more delicacy, after the first time I heard him tell that story, I started using it and I started training it. It's the reality of that car was $90,000 when it was new. It's 10 years old and you bought it for $17,000. There's a reason.
I've told multiple customers of ours that talk about where they're going to go, "Oh, I found a deal on this car. I found a deal on this car." I tell them, it is going to be, if you want to drive a BMW, that's great. It will be less expensive for you to go down to the dealer and lease a new one than it will be for you to maintain that one, to own that one. Mm-hmm. It's going to be less expensive for you. That's what Jim does. Jim likes having a BMW. He don't freaking buy them things. Don't really freaking lease that.
Well, I'd really like to have an RS6 Avant. I think that's just a beautiful car.
Sure.
But
you'd love to lease it.
Yeah, I don't want to own it after 60,000 miles.
No.
I want to own it when it's new, before it starts
like these people
apart.
like we had a customer talking about getting an M5 and the thing had like 63,000 miles on it. And I'm like, "Oh,
it's just in time to start killing you."
I go, "Oh, it's due for rod bearings." And they thought I was joking. I go, "Oh no." No, that's a maintenance item. Like you literally at 60,000 miles on a V10 M5. It was an older M5. You know the deal. Older M5 with the V10. You take the oil pan off at 60,000. You put a new set of rod bearings in it. It's like not like a joke. Right. It's like that's what you do because it will fail.
Right. Like I'm driving a 2019 X5, the B motor, because the rod bearings on my N55 X3 went.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just, but and I try to tell my customers like, hey, if you're gonna buy a used Euro, I'm an advocate for CarMax because they generally are selling decent cars, and only if you're gonna get it with the extended warranty.
Get Max here
because it's a good warranty. And you're going to have expenses.
On the other side of that door right now is my hungover service manager, Xander. Who, I don't know if you noticed, he wasn't in the morning panel this morning.
First thing, I like Xander.
Oh yeah, he's
solid.
He's a rock star. I've had multiple people who I called out via text this morning for breaking my service manager last night. Because we were walking back into the hotel and he was like, I think I'm going to come down for one beer. I was like, I'm going to bed. And then I heard his door close this morning at 2:30. But I had multiple people come up to me this morning and tell me, "Man, that guy is awesome.
Oh,
that guy is
he's fantastic.
An asset."
Yeah.
And he really
now, he drives
is.
BMW. He can't use a turn signal. I found that out.
Yeah, well, I think we just heard his door closing again. Maybe he heard us talking about him. But he bought an X5, right? And we all made fun of him for that choice. And he texted me the other night. He was staying at the shop after hours, like 7 o'clock. I said, "Hey, the shop changing my oil. Guess what I found?" I said, "Your turbo's leaking, isn't it?" And he said, "Yep." But he's got the extended warranty. He's like, $17,000 warranty claim. Just ring it up with everything else it's got. So giddy up, Buttercup.
Yeah, and the Max Care, it's up to 125,000 miles. So, I mean, if you're going to buy the Euro, that's the way to go if you're buying used.
It's got to be somebody else's problem, unless you can fix it yourself. But even if if you can get paid to fix it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Do you deal with extended warranty companies?
Yes and no. I mean, I've had a couple of CarShield run-ins, but I already knew the deal with them. And so now I've kind of got to the point when they want to sit there with the breakdown. I say, I don't care what your breakdown is. Just tell me what you're going to pay. What's the final number you're going to pay? Because my customer's paying the rest. That's all there is to it.
Are you a Techmetric shop?
No, Shopware.
Okay, well,
Should I mention that on this one?
no, it's fine. It's fine.
We ain't like that.
But I will tell you, there's a company that we have started using to smashing success is Hub Shop Solutions. And the reason I ask is because they only integrate with Techmetric right now. I'm sure that they'll work on others also over time, but you make them a service advisor in your Techmetric account, and then you integrate with Slack, and they use Slack, and we already did as a company. But every time a DVI is marked complete, they get a notification, and they come in and they build the estimate out, parts, labor, everything else. You tell them who your preferred vendors are. You tell them what your quality of parts are. You tell them parts that I will never use. Same thing for tires. What's your desired parts margin? What's your desired labor margin? What's your desired gross profit per hour? And they know how you want estimates built. And they turn estimates in 15 minutes or less is their standard. And they also do your extended warranty calls for you. So they call and sit on hold for 45 minutes and process it. And then they send you, here's your approval number. Here's the amount that was approved, parts and labor. Here's the customer's deductible. Giddy up.
You say it's called Hub Shop?
Hub Shop Solutions. And so I tried it out on my small shop for 1 week. And my Raleigh manager and my shop foreman were like, this is awesome. They both had concerns. And they were both like, okay, it's been 1 week. Go ahead and get it for the other shop. And so both Raleigh shops now have it. And the estimates are being built at the margins that we want. And we have had some issues with emotional discounting in the estimate building process with certain advisors. And they're no longer involved in the estimate building process. And they're told you can't fucking touch it without Mike's permission. So just call and sell it. And it's working, man. I mean, we just had best week ever that we've had in Raleigh this week. So 5 techs did $78,000 in revenue.
Wait a second. So. Weren't you busting Xander's Stone?
Well, so they're still open today, right? So Xander said Thursday.
That's the other. I'm sorry. That's the other store. I got you.
The Garner store could potentially have its best week ever. I was like, I don't know, man. You're not there coaching them to land the plane. That's our thing is Thursday morning. It's time to start landing the plane because if you haven't submitted for payment from that warranty company by the end of the day Thursday, you're not going to get paid till Monday. Yeah. Because if you call them on Friday, they say we'll 24 hours. Yeah. And they don't do it on Saturday. Yeah.
They're not into exceptional service.
True. Yeah. They don't give a shit about their customers.
They don't because they're not open at 3 a.m. on a Saturday.
On Christmas morning. But that's the real deal, though, is you got to start landing the plane Thursday if you want to close. And it's frustrating because we've got
I like
there's $130,000 of approved sales.
We do a lot of midair refueling.
Yeah. Let's just sidle up to the tanker, get a fresh load because we're gonna
ton of midair top shelf. Lots of midair refueling.
But when you see, hey, I've got $40,000 of work that's done that hasn't been picked up because we didn't communicate clearly with the warranty company or with the customer or whatever it was. You need to start telling them if they got a $7,000 bill. A lot of people ain't got that. They need to move some money around or something. Don't tell them at 4:30 on Friday to come pick it up. You say it's going to be ready Saturday morning. We'll have it ready to rock. So be ready to come pick it up, or we'll bring it to your house. But let them know so that they can be ready.
We deliver a few cars too.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons. A, to get them off the lot.
Yeah.
And B, sometimes Just makes it, sometimes it's just easier.
Well, and sometimes you get people in loaner cars and they're not in a big hurry.
What you just mentioned about, they're not ready, they don't have the $5,000, that hit me pretty hard these last 2 weeks, especially as a one-man shop. I'm trying to get the cars through the shop. Hey, this is a big bill. Let me knock it out. He's been bugging me about the car.
I need that cash.
I need that cash, right? Yeah. And so then I finish it. Oh, hey, I don't have the money yet. Can I make payments over time?
A week or two.
Well, and that's fine and all, but as a one-man shop, I'm busy right now. I'm trying to juggle the cars in a certain way. So now
you need the cash flow so you can buy more parts.
Well, or I could have just pushed his to the side and worked on somebody else's. And then the next one does the same thing. Yeah. And now it's like, now I'm getting stressed out because, I have all this work. And now I could have just focused on these other cars, got them done and out, and I have extra time to work on those other ones.
And it's every business.
You got $10,000 of what should be in the bank account sitting in the parking lot for God knows how long.
It's every business that does large ticket items. I have my Snap-on guy sold me some accessories for my toolbox, and as you know, nothing's cheap anymore, right? Mm-hmm. So he sells me $10,000 worth of stuff that goes on my toolbox, right? And it's going to come at the end of the month. So we're sitting there, whatever. And he comes in. So he goes, just whenever. He's like, I was just looking at some numbers, man. And I don't make a ton of money doing this, but I also don't like to put money out of my own pocket into this. Can we do the paperwork on yours now so I can get paid for some of that? I could, yeah, dude, no problem. He goes, because that stuff's going to come while I'm on vacation, and they're going to bill me when it comes. Mm-hmm. So it's any business that does large ticket items. You have to have whatever percentage that is. And it's not even really a percentage because you buy parts and pay bills in dollars anyways, right? You gotta, like you said, you gotta land the plane on Thursday. Yeah. That's a great analogy. We're terrible with that. And it's because it's bad habits because we've grown to the point where we can get away with it, right? Overall, it's a very small percentage of our.
Well, the thing that I struggle with is my advisors are all paid hourly, and they get a little bit of overtime, and then they get a percentage of shop-wide gross profit. Mm-hmm. And at a certain level, it's the same level for every person, that percentage goes up, and then they earn more money. And it's when we hit a certain revenue volume per week.
Yeah.
There's a minimum gross profit, right?
It's math.
And I'm like, guys, all of those tickets, if they had picked up today, they're all done. If they had picked up today, you would have gotten to the next level. And you would have made $500 more this week or whatever it is. So why don't you have the same level of urgency?
So now here's a question. At what point is there something tracked and there's some sort of bonus to the promptness between when the ticket is officially ready for pickup and they've got the customer done? At what point are you bonusing the selling of picking the car up? I don't know. It's just an idea.
I would think that it's self-evident that I make more money if people pick their cars up. Because the technicians
they can sandbag $30,000 worth of jobs for next week and freaking boom
and crush it. So I don't think I have anyone who thinks that way, but there's 100%. That's a 100% a way to manipulate that.
Yeah.
And there are people out there who will find the way to manipulate any pay plan.
Man, when I worked at the dealer, if I was on a week, we had tiered. Every 10 hours, it was tiered. You had a bonus, a $1 per hour bonus that went back to zero every 10 hours. Man, if I was on a week and it was Friday morning and I had 48 hours, I was going to flag the 2 hours for that day to get me to 50.
And then nothing else.
And I was going to sandbag. And next week I was going to run and run a 75, 80 hour check.
And then by Monday at noon, you finish the 4 cars you were dragging your feet on and you've got 20 hours already. Yeah.
All damn day. Because you start getting them tiers, right? And it's all math, right? They're like, okay, well, this business is based on 40 hours of production. I can pay them at 50, I can pay them plus $4 an hour. 60, I can pay them plus 8. 70, I can pay them plus 16, right? And then we capped, it wasn't plus 32, it capped at plus 25. So
I've got some guys that are like, it's not that significant a variance, but I've got some guys that are compensated that way.
Yeah. And I was sandbagging stuff all the time.
What type of compensation did you have in your career as a technician?
Flat rate.
Any guarantees or anything?
No.
Any tiers?
Guarantee you don't turn no hours, you won't get paid.
No, and I was always one of the most efficient techs, so that never became a thing.
So if you hired a tech, would you be like, don't worry, you'll never be paid flat rate?
It's kind of the way I'd want to go. I mean, especially seeing how a lot of shops are nowadays. It's like I just want to take care of the tech, not have to worry about I got to slam out this car, maybe do it wrong, whatever, just to turn hours. I just want them to have to come to work, do their job, not worry about am I going to be able to feed my family.
So let's say 40 hours at $40. That's a B tech, right?
Sure.
A decent quality,
Which
work.
is like $80,000 a year.
Yeah, that's like $83,000 a year. So let's say you put an ad out for whatever terminology you want to use, but what we're talking about is a good run of the mill line tech, B tech, $83,000 a year salary plus benefits. They come in. What is the minimum level of performance that is acceptable for that person before you have to let them go because they're drag on the P&L?
See, this is all stuff that I need help with.
That's okay.
Because that's why evil shop owners love flat rates so much, right? Because if they don't produce, it don't cost anything other than the base. If you got plenty of bays, then fine. Now, if you've got 3 bays and the parking lot's full, then you have to have production out of each bay. But flat rate passes the risk on to the technician, and salary passes the risk on to the owner. And so techs say, just give me salary or give me 50% of the labor or some of the other crazy shit that you hear out there, right? Okay. But the higher amount of risk that is passed to me, the higher the minimum level of acceptable performance. Like you're a flat rate, pure flat rate with no guarantee, and you're going to turn 22, 23 hours a week if it's a good quality and I got plenty of bays, okay. I mean, I don't know why you're happy with that, but okay. But if you're making $100,000 a year salary and you're turning 25 hours a week, you got to go.
Right.
So
it gets to a point where you pay somebody at a certain level, and this is making a lot of assumptions. We have to remember that so many
there are always
shops,
exceptions. Yeah.
So many shops don't have their front end together.
Yeah.
They could put John Q Super Tech in there, who's turning 80 hours a week at his previous job. He'll come in there and turn 33 hours a week and be like, oh, I don't know why I hired this guy. He was supposedly so good. He don't turn no hours. No,
and they got like a 9% closing rate up front.
You suck ass, and you make him stand there and twiddle his thumbs because, oh, the parts are coming. Parts are on the way. Parts are on the way. And he's standing there not doing anything. Right? Happens all over the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a friend that he's got this shop, and he offered his techs whatever way they wanted to be. If you wanted to be hourly, you're hourly. If you want to be flat rate,
of him.
Yeah. Well, and the problem is he'll call me and complain. Well, that the one tech that picked flat rate, he makes good money, right? But then he does something wrong and has to go backwards, and then he complains that, hey, well, I'm not getting paid for this. Well, it's kind of like,
oh, you did get paid for it the first time,
right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's an accountability issue.
Right.
That's and there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Right? What did somebody say? If you pay,
you have to
hourly,
manage effort or ethics.
Right? And the thing I like about hourly is being where it's an advantage for me as compared to Mike. I'm of a technical background. If I decide I need a job done a certain way, it can be because I said so, because it's not negatively impacting their efficiency. If it negatively impacts their efficiency on the job, who pays for it? Wilco Auto Care pays for it. If it's right, if the guy's flat rate in the way I want him to do it negatively impacts his efficiency on the job, he's paying for it.
Yeah.
So I like the because I said so factor of hourly.
Modern leadership, because I fucking said so. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Wilco Auto Care.
Most intense fellowship is because I said so. Yeah. But and there's reasons that you know how this is. There's reasons you would want a certain job done a certain way. That may not be the prescribed way in the manual. I don't want you pulling this apart because all this shit is going to break. We're not going to be able to get it. This part's discontinued. Don't touch that shit. Do it this way. Well, that way takes longer. It's going to take.
It doesn't take longer than all that
2
shit that's
months
going
when we got to push the car out and we got to freaking order a part from Temu to put the thing back on the road because nobody stateside has anything.
Temu diesel injectors for the win, baby.
$66, baby.
Are they still going to be $66 though?
they're going to be 66 times 124%.
Ooh, scary. They'll still be 30% of the
Of the cost of a good part.
Yeah.
You can still buy 3 sets.
You buy one set. You're going to buy 10 for a V8 engine.
Can you buy Temu injectors and then rebuild them before you install them?
That's a good question. I want to order one to see if an actual injector shows up or a little model.
Like a middle miniature one.
Like, remember the jack
micro
stand the
machine?
guy ordered, and it was like the jack stand was the size of a cell phone. Oh man, I got this jack stand for $6, and a little model jack stand the size of a cell phone. Yeah,
It was for his NASCAR scale
There's
model
advantages
garage.
and disadvantages to flat rate versus hourly for sure. Jim and I came from a flat rate environment. I had worked at dealerships flat rate. Him and I both worked for Goodyear back when it was Gemini service, which was straight flat rate. We liked the because I said so factor.
I think that it is telling that all of the technicians in the world who have a big voice, who spent their entire career in flat rate, hate flat rate and want something different. Not all of them. Like Blaine is one of my guys, and he and you've talked to him before. He was a champion for flat rate. Ironically, he's no longer paid flat rate, but he sees the value and the purpose behind it.
I've said this many times before, if a front end ran the way it was supposed to, if you could guarantee me 3 bays, a Pro Cut brake lathe, and a front end that ran the way it was supposed to, I will freaking put all the risk on me. You'll be paying me $250,000 a year because I'm gonna haul ass. But
I've got a Pro Cut if you want to buy it. It's collecting dust in the back.
Oh my gosh, I'd be killing it there. It's 7 minutes. It's 7 minutes a wheel. Anyways,
yeah, that's another conversation.
If you could guarantee me that, but I have low faith in people's ability to do that. All I've got to witness is people failing to do that. I can't call them and tell them we need more time. Oh, well, this is the rust belt. You're not getting extra money to drill out those bolts. And this isn't after we've started the job. It's like, oh, the bolts, that manifold bolt's broke. That one's already missing. I need an extra half. Oh, no. This is how you work up here. I'm not going to work flat. I ain't working for free. Right? How many places do I work? Stupid things. Cabin air filters, wipers. Well, you say that you're not going to pay me hourly. You're going to pay me flat rate. So what do I do with the wipers? Set them on the hood, tell them to jump? I know it sounds stupid, but like you get to a point over the course of the year, how many sets of wipers you put on, you never got paid for it. How many of this did you never got paid for it? Mm-hmm. How many times you get paid 0.1 for inspecting a clapped out vehicle that took you almost 20 minutes?
So how much should you be paid for install wiper blades?
Probably 0.1. You should probably get 6 minutes to put a set of wiper blades on.
Okay, so and if your labor rate's $220 an hour, so you're going to charge a customer $22 labor to install wiper blades?
This is why hourly is so great.
I'm just talking from a pure business perspective.
I understand. Here's the thing. You're talking to me from business perspective. I'm the technician. That's not my fucking problem.
So
it's my job to put the parts on the car. It's your job to figure that out.
So I would argue that there's not an easy answer to that.
You're wrong.
Wrong. I think
wrong.
What you do.
You're wrong. Oh, I sat next to Dutch for a really long time. Wrong.
Labor guide bump, because a labor guide is a suggestion, right? And it's wrong sometimes, and it's right more often than it's not. But the labor guide doesn't consider rust, and it doesn't consider all the other complicating factors. It considers that it's a technician with all of the right tools in the right environment who's done it 10 times to figure out.
Sure.
Right?
100% agree.
So that's why you put a labor bump in. And maybe that bump, there's some softwares.
Yes, and I could deal with that. If there was a labor multiplier where I was getting paid 1.2 for everything I touched, I wouldn't be talking to you about putting wipers on and putting air filters on.
Well, that's what we do.
Okay.
So that's,
Just like when people bring up, well, my technician doesn't want to estimate, he doesn't want to add the parts and the labor to the work order. Okay, cool. Do you pay him straight book time or what's the deal? Oh, I pay him straight book time. It's not part of his job, man. If you're paying a guy without a labor multiplier or a bump, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're paying him just the book time. Okay, let's go look up
Does the book time include
Let's go look
estimate repair.
Does you go in the book and you look up left front wheel hub replacement on a 2017 Ram 1500? At what point does it say go to Parts Tech, procure part at appropriate price, assure it's at appropriate margin, go into AllData, add the labor time, submit, and then wait? It doesn't say that. It doesn't.
Yeah.
If you want to do it now, if you want to pay your guys times we'll say 1.2. I'll tell you what, for 12 minutes on the hour, I will add all the parts. Or for hourly, what's the difference?
Just do whatever you tell them.
Yeah. Oh, really? For hourly, they'll do whatever you tell them. That's magical.
All right. So
anyhow,
you're going to hire a technician later this year, and you're going to pay him pure flat rate at $17 an hour. He's going to turn 100 hours a week for you, right?
Yeah. And he's going to 1099 him.
And he's got to build estimates. I never knew how prevalent that was. I always thought it was just like a joke.
No, it's not.
It's amazing.
It's not.
Oh my God. There's so many very low bar tests to show that that's illegal.
Yes.
But whatever. So
people will argue it to the death that they can still do it, and it's good until you're in like federal prison or whatever.
I mean, is it like Club Med federal prison or
it's
Pound
not
Me
the
in the Ass
Martha
federal
Stewart?
prison?
It's the El Chapo
prison. Copy.
Which he did escape from, I think, right?
Eventually, I think they dug a tunnel or something.
They did. Have you ever watched that?
They went full Shawshank Redemption.
They built like a little railroad line, and they modified a four-wheeler. They built a tunnel to his cell underground, and the guards were getting paid off. So like the people, like the cellmates around said that you could literally hear the jackhammering all day and all night, and the guards were acting like nothing was going on.
They all had AirPods in.
And they ran them. They stuck them through the hole, put them on this little four-wheeler thing that they had modified on these rails, and they basically put an underground railroad in. And they ran him out to this thing where there's a plane waiting and running. And he was from in his prison cell to in the air. It was like 12 minutes.
Well, but they got him again, right?
They had good processes.
Yeah. Follow the procedure. Pay the guards.
Yep.
So, what is the next thing in your business development journey that you see on the horizon?
I'm a mess. I just don't know. I don't know. And that's what I'm trying to figure out.
That's all right.
Is your wife involved in the business?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because that's normally a good step stool that you see in a lot of the startup shops is the wife starts to be a service advisor and run the books and that kind of stuff.
And she's got her own job, and she's usually up till midnight doing her own thing. So she's already got enough on her plate. So
I understand. I could never work with my wife. Like there was a period of time where we talked about her opening her own practice and me managing the business side of the practice, and she just helping patients. And thank God we didn't go that route. It would have been a disaster. So we got to have some hours away from each other. So I respect letting her have her hustle and you have your hustle.
Well, when I lost my job, she's a real estate appraiser, and she lost her help during COVID. And since I was there between building the shop, I would go with her to houses and help her measure the houses and whatnot. So there was a good amount of time, even while I was started working, I was still kind of helping her. I'd work at both my shop and help her. And I was fine with it. But it was kind of the same way for her. I thought everything was fine. But she's like, all right, we need our space. Go do your thing.
Yeah. She was you were the annoying apprentice that didn't know what he was doing, following her around. Like, get this guy.
Well, the funny
you were the guy. That's the reason I had my toolboxes like they are. I've made it so it's difficult to access me. I built a cove. Actually, there's 36 inches between the edge of the cart and the lift. I think I'm going to put a door in this summer. And I'm just kidding. And you know what? Honestly, I really like our guys, but it has lowered the interruption because they have to walk all the way around. They're like, I'm just going to look it up.
You got like 7 Mr. Bigs building a wall in your shop.
I have I think my Mr. Big. I think I got the one side and two of the parts to it. It's pretty tall. I'm gonna invite Trump down because this wall. It's impressive.
Show him how to build it right.
Yeah, I'm be like, this is what you do. You call up Snap-on Tool Company and you write the check, and they will build you.
How much do you think Snap-on would charge to build a border wall?
Nobody knows what anything actually costs.
Yeah.
right? Because like list price.
Snap-on is the government contractor of our industry.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they literally are a government contractor also because they
right.
own everything, right? But yeah, I don't know. A 12-foot wide wall that is 9 feet high and weighs about 3,000 pounds. List price is about $55,000. Real street price is in the 20-ish range, a little under 20.
Yeah, I sent you that. Was a maximizer box, I think, with 2 lockers in the hutch and everything.
Oh, and I said that guy's on crack.
Yeah, it was like $12,000.
Yeah, when I'm buying marketplace toolboxes, we buy boxes for $1,200. Yeah, we don't pay people that kind of money.
Brian also cruises Facebook Marketplace.
I'm a horrible person.
And sees toolboxes for sale, and then he finds out where they work and finds out what their payday is. And then he lowballs them 2 days before payday, right when they're out of money.
Yeah, they get paid on Friday. They are out of money on Wednesday. So that $1,200 toolbox is $800 on Wednesday, and it works.
Nice.
It works a lot.
Savage. I think that's probably a good point for us to wind down.
What a scumbag human being! It's not my fault they make bad financial decisions. What do you want me to tell you?
Brian, thank you for coming, man. I really
appreciate
enjoyed
it.
Thank you for being a more reasonable Brian than what I normally have to deal with.
Yeah, it was refreshing.
That's right. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Talk to you soon. Thanks.